about coaching, an excellent management tool. I'd like to welcome you, and hopefully we'll have an interesting discussion in the next 30 to 35 minutes about coaching, and hopefully later on we'll probably open up the session to have any questions and maybe answer any concerns that you might have or any clarifications. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ibrahim Al-Yafi, and I'll be with you for the next hour approximately or so, talking about the whole thing about coaching and how is it an excellent tool for managers to use, and hopefully it will enhance the performance of their employees. So my position with Meirc Training and Consulting is a partner. I've been with them for the last 8 years. I'm a management consultant that deliver training and consulting in the area of human resources. And of course, I'm a coach. I'm a certified coach, and do provide training as well as coaching in performance-related areas. This is a little bit about myself. My education, I'm a US graduate. I have an engineering management degree and an MBA. I'm also a senior certified professional with the Site of Human Resources Management from the United States. I am also a certified coach by the International Coach Federation. I've got more than 25 years of experience in the area of human resources and people development. With Meirc, as I told you before, I focus on human resources and training, but if you work in human resources, it kind of comes with the territory. Those of you who are in HR professionals will probably vouch with me. So we actually, I look at leadership. I've got experience in cultural management, self-development, and of course, the various arena of interpersonal skills. All right, so without further ado, let's talk a little bit about coaching. And I'd like to start with you, all of you, by kind of go for a poll, right? And the poll is asking you about the difference between coaching and training. Do you see a difference between the two? Are they same to you? Are they different, or are they related? So I'm going to ask you now to basically submit your votes. All right, people are coming in. Excellent. All right, we're 50% through. I'm waiting for the other participants to submit their votes. Okay, a few more seconds. All right. Getting close. I have a few more people left. Would you mind please submitting your votes? Okay, the answers are rotating around different and related. Anybody else, or shall I just close the vote? All right, one more vote. All right. Well, I guess, okay, people are still voting. Okay, any more people want to vote in? Okay, 4 are left. Okay, so I'll give you just a couple more seconds. All right, well, thank you for those who voted. I'm going to end the voting right now, and I'm going to show you the results. Here we go. Can everybody see it? Excellent. So it's interesting that nobody said the same, and I'm so happy that everybody said it's not the same. Some of you said they are different, and some of you said they are related. And actually, it is basically more or less, it's more of an opinion, if you will. In my opinion, I mean, being a certified coach myself, being a person who has worked in the area of training as well as coaching, I actually do find them to be different in approach, but they are related in the goals. I mean, at the end of the day, as trainers, we impart knowledge in sort of a structured setting in a classroom, or sometimes online, of course, where we impart knowledge about certain topics and maybe train people on certain skills. Coaching, however, becomes a one-on-one sort of an approach, if you will, with the individual to help that individual achieve a particular learning objective. And usually it's a very nice companion to the training initiative. So people can say, all right, I've attended this training course, they've got a few objectives I'd like to achieve, learning objectives, but I'm not quite sure how to achieve them. I want to see if I can, get some guidance on that. So this is where the coach actually comes in and plays a role, a positive, hopefully, in kind of supporting the person achieve his personal objective or personal learning objectives. Our hope is, of course, that we not only depend on professional coaches such as myself, but maybe train the managers to provide that support as well to their employees. So what is coaching? And you see in front of you on that slide, there are a couple of definitions. One of them is by the International Coach Federation themselves, and they call it a professional partnership between a qualified coach and an individual or team that support the achievement of extraordinary results based on goals set by the individual or the team. So notice in the coaching environment, the person in charge is the person or the team that is being coached, and that is a crucial point. In the International Coach Federation, the coaching model that is the prime, shall we say, coaching model that is used by the ICF is the coactive coaching model, and there's a whole book that's written on the topic. And the definition of coaching or coactive coaching is at the bottom of that slide, as you see it. So it's a powerful alliance, and notice this. It's a very interesting word. It's a partnership between the coach and the coachee. So it's a powerful alliance that is designed to forward and embrace a lifelong process of human learning, effectiveness, and fulfillment. And in reality, the whole idea of coaching and how it came about to the business world, because coaching is something that's human, that humans always kind of sourced from each other. We've always, seek people advice and help on how to achieve certain things. But then coaching, of course, were based on a number of trials that humans have done, was developed and done in such a way where the person in charge here is the person asking for the coaching, and the coach acts as sort of the flashlight or the guiding light for the coachee to help them achieve their goal. All right. So what is not coaching? I like that slide. It's just not another form of management or supervision. As we will see, it's the key to successful coaching lies in the individual willingness and ability, if you will, to identify your own abilities and shortcomings, and therefore take the action that is needed. So again, that slide emphasizes the responsibility of the coachee in the whole process, and not the coach himself. So the coach basically just acts as, somebody who just gives views, suggestions, but the person who actually takes control is the coachee. And that is very important to keep in mind in any coaching intervention. All right, so you may have heard that there are many types of coaching out there. There's the executive coaching that we do here in Meirc, obviously. There's the leadership coaching. There's there's the coaching leadership, if you will. So the first one is coaching people on leadership. The second one is having a leadership in coaching and making it a sort of initiative within a certain organization. So which leads to workplace coaching and the famous, of course, life coaching. So when do we actually use coaching? Well, if you look at the slide in front of you, you notice that it's actually pictorial, and it shows employee productivity on a high level on the right and a low level on the left. The one on the right, it's the expected productivity of employees when they are in a certain organization. But sometimes things happen out of the ordinary, and the employee productivity, unfortunately, is not to the level that is hoped by the organization. So usually there are reasons, all right? And it's the duty, if you will, of the manager here to kind of work with the employee to find out what are the reasons behind that gap in the productivity, the expected versus the actual. And when the matter is discovered to be related to competence or related to challenges in the workplace, coaching becomes a beautiful exercise to be used by the manager to help the employee raise his or her productivity to the expected level. Should it be a personal reason? Then there are a couple of options here. If it's a minor personal reason, so life coaching will play the role here. The manager can do it, but usually it's preferred if life coaching is maybe gained from or taken from outside. When it becomes a serious personal matter, this is where counseling comes in, and professional psychologists maybe will have to work with the employee to help them sort out that psychological problem that's causing the lack of productivity. So our focus here, because the majority of the cases is probably either related to easy personal reasons or maybe competence or challenges at work, and so the majority of the times coaching is the right intervention, if you will. All right, so we're trying to bridge gaps through the coaching. So what are the characteristics of a good coach? Take a look at these 5. Number 1, the focus should be on the conversation. It's about encouraging the conversation with the coachee to get as much information out on the table so that we create some sort of an awareness by the coachee, by the person receiving the coaching, so they can kind of, it's like, putting the table, filling the table top with various types of food, so he can choose where he or she should eat from. Part of the process is to help the coachee identify the relevant goals and objectives that will help him or her improve their productivity. If there are obstacles there from achieving those goals, what are the actions that can best help the employee achieve those objectives and overcome those obstacles, right? And throughout the process, obviously, provide the support. So the coach here must become that kind of a person who is able to read, if you will, the personality of the person in front of him or the employee in front of him, the feelings, if you will. So the focus in the coach's mind is purely on the coachee, their own story, their own fears, their own problems, which should be shelved aside, and during the session of the coaching should be focused purely on the coachee. All right, so what do we suggest? Well, we suggest a method called EARS. I like that name. So and obviously it's whoever came up with that method intended the name, because if you notice, the E stands for exploring by asking questions. And if you read the book on coactive coaching, they focus on something called powerful questions. The questions that will kind of make the coachee think, consider aspects that they have never considered before, looking at areas of solving a problem or achieving a goal or overcoming an obstacle that they haven't thought about before. But it's in a way not directed, forced upon them, but really just getting them to become aware of that side. So maybe they decide to take that route and hopefully get them to achieve what they want to achieve. The A is to affirm and show that you're listening. So, if you've attended the communication skills course, you must have heard this before, giving the ahas, the yeah, showing, the nods that you give with your head, so on and so forth. So it's the one of the most important human needs is to feel that we are being heard. Somebody is truly listening to us. Another way to actually show this is by reflecting your understanding. So when somebody says, when the coachee hears something from the employee, he needs to kind of reflect back what he just understood to make sure that he got it. And again, that's a beautiful affirmation for the person that's talking. The other thing is mastering the art of silence, if you will. People, when they talk and you want to listen to them, the last thing you want to do is interrupt them. So make sure, if you are coaching somebody, to ensure that you get the full information, give them a space, give them some silence, and so until you get sort of a message, a body message from the coachee saying, yeah, I'm done, you can come in and talk and respond back to what I've been saying. All right, so how do we listen more effectively? Well, it's surprisingly, if you recall from school, when we were students, a lot of the times our teacher used to tell us, okay, lean forward on the desk, don't lean backwards. Why is that? There's an automatic thing that happens physically, that when we lean forward, we kind of get forced in a way to kind of attend to what we are hearing from the other person. So the first one is to attend physically, right? Show the right body language, sit in a way or look in a way where you show interest. It will force you indirectly to listen properly to that person. Second one is to attend mentally. So follow what it says here, follow the speaker's flow of thought, listen to understand, not to evaluate. So in other words, we need to stop running stories in our minds. We need to stop thinking about anything else and just put the total focus on what the person is saying and understanding what they are saying. So we need to stop that mental talk that we have on the side when somebody else is talking. And then to ensure, because at the end of the day, we are humans, and sometimes our brains gonna run wild, and they go in their own different directions. So how can I do this? Well, if you miss the point, there's no harm whatsoever to ask that person to repeat it for you or to paraphrase it for you. And then you can do your own check-in with them verbally by paraphrasing what they said, clarifying, as we said, the areas that you haven't understand. Maybe if you want to get more information to get a full more understanding, so probe through questioning. So by asking, what did you mean by that? What are some of the ways that maybe you followed in this particular issue? That sort of a thing. And finally, of course, summarize your understanding when the point has been completed by the coachee. So some of the good habits that we'd like to share with you here in improving your listening and become effective listeners is to look at the speaker. I mean, the first thing is to actually have proper eye contact. So look at the speaker in order to observe their body language and picking up some subtle nuances of speech. So sometimes somebody says something and you ask them about, for example, a certain area, like, do you like doing X, Y, Z? And they say yes. So from that yes, you can sense a bit of hesitation. The job of the coach here is to even when you sense the slightest of hesitation or anything that intrigued you, don't let it pass. Ask about it. And you can put it in a very nice way where you say to the person, well, I sense there's a little bit of hesitation in that yes of yours. Is there anything behind that yes? Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about relating to that topic? So, which takes me to that point number 2 on the slide, asking questions. I think asking questions is the most powerful thing that you can do in a coaching session. But the one thing that needs to be taken into consideration when asking the questions, you want to inquire. You don't want to sound like a detective. It's not it's not about telling them. So why did you do this? And you could have thought of this other way. Why did you take that method? No. That kind of a tone is definitely a turn off. And automatically, when people hear that tone, they feel like children, as if their mother is blaming them for something that they've done. Or their spouses or their bad bosses. So you wanna use an inquiring tone. So what made you think about that? Have you considered other things? What sort of things have you considered? So it's always about inquiring in a tone that makes the person want to talk versus closing off. And the other thing is being able to actually make space and for the other people to express their thoughts. So our brains, ladies and gentlemen, are actually 20 times faster than the speed of speech. They think 20 times faster the speed of speech. So by the time I've said like these few words, your brains have already thought of 20 times the amount of the information that you received from me. And that a lot of the time prompt us to kind of jump in and say to the person, yeah, I got it. Okay, so I think what you mean is this and that. Well, we get interrupted, and of course, the chain of thought gets broken, and sometimes important information get lost in the process. And during the coaching session, that should not be the case. People should be allowed to express their thoughts, their feelings. And the majority of the time, it's been my experience that what's blocking people from achieving their goals is really the way they feel about something more than the physical obstacles. So letting people finish what they are saying before giving any opinion that you might have. All right, so what are the elements of a good coaching session then? Well, a coaching session should have a purpose. It's not a conversation that is, aimless. You need to make sure that there is a purpose that's been agreed. There's a target that by the end of the coaching session, the coachee will have something at hand to help him achieve his personal goal outside or overcoming that obstacle. If you have any ground rules, that needs to be actually established early on. So you have a structured meeting versus, again, it's not a social visit. It's something that has to be focused towards achieving a certain objective. Discussions within the coaching session, particularly when like a lot of details are placed on the table, may take a tangent. So you may leave the main topic and go to side topics. And this is where the coach has to be smart about it. You need to bring the focus back of the discussion into the to achieving the main purpose of the entire dialogue. You need to develop the dialogue, and that's where your power of questioning come into play. So you want to explore different areas from that perspective. Speaking, you cannot speak at the speed of light. Some of us, we grew up for whatever reason, by nature we speak fast. When you are coaching, there's no way you can do that, because when somebody speaks fast, it kind of makes us feel intimidated. The person is talking down to us. They're trying to show us that they're smart. No, you got to slow down. You got to speak clearly, enunciating the words and the letters that you are pronouncing. And use simple yet clear and direct terms. Beating around the bush in a coaching session is not advised at all. Take one topic. It says discuss one specific issue. Take one topic and ask direct questions about it. Nothing is off the table. You can ask about anything that you feel relevant to the topic. So these are like a number of elements. I realize maybe if you've never done coaching before, that may seem overwhelming, but it's about really training yourself and training your brain towards maintaining sort of a balance between all of these elements. So we recommend this pre-coaching checklist. So number one is to identify a learning need. Usually coaching in the workplace is because we may required because of a lack or a gap in a certain competence. So we need to identify that learning need. When we identify the learning need, we need to decide, is it something that can be bridged through training, or is coaching the right intervention, right? If coaching is the right intervention, then how are we going to identify that coaching need, right? Taking us, of course, to the next question. I think somebody said there's no sound. Okay. I think my technical support is going to look into this. All right. So let me go back to the discussion here. So once we identify that there is a coaching need here, well, is the person coachable? Coachability, if that's a word, by the person that needs to be coached. Really, it's the desire, the want to be coached. So the person must be asking for this. We cannot really force anybody into coaching. I've actually worked with a certain client when they asked us to coach a certain employee, and from the first session, it was loud and clear that the person does not want the coaching. He does not agree that there's a coaching need here, and we had to end the entire process. So once you have the answer to these questions, and they're all positive answers, then the coaching process can actually start. All right, so what are the steps of coaching? Well, it starts with step number one. Usually in the workplace, it's a performance issue. So describe what is the performance issue, but it has to be done in a professional manner, not in a blaming manner, where you identify the issue as is. Not say that you made a mistake here, you shouldn't have done this. If you say this, you, usually it actually it puts the person in a position of being attacked, and people go into the defense, and you don't want to do that. So you need to describe the issue that at a certain time, you may use the letter U, but this and this and this happened in the project that you are responsible for. So talk about the performance issue as a third element, right? Not the to blame the person who is involved in this. Discuss the causes of the problem from your perspective, and work with the person on identifying, writing down possible solutions. All of this, by the way, from step 2 onwards, this is where you want really to start posing the questions and directing the discussion from the question point of view, so the person really can think about the various causes, tackling those causes, how to deal with them, how to solve them, and maybe identify the possible solutions for them. Once the solution is chosen from different possibilities, then a specific action plans need to be developed, and sort of how to follow up on this. And if you are coaching your own employee, then we need to conduct what we call follow-up sessions to see the progress, if you will, of the employee or the coachee on the matter. Another model that I want to share with you, another famous coaching model, is called the Tigro model. And it has 5 steps that in any coaching session that you start in the beginning by the topic. What is the coaching about? This is similar to the slide that we've seen before. We talked about the performance issue. From there, we need to identify the goal. What is it that we're hoping to achieve at the end of the coaching session, sorry. And step number 3 what is the reality today? Where do we stand? Yeah? What's going right? What's not going so well? And so how can we deal with the situation where things are not going well, and what are the options that we have in front of us, and how are we going to solve them? And that's the way forward. Very similar, if you notice, just different namings or different titles for them. This is an interesting one. A lot of the times when we talk about performance issues, especially related to competence, we can design a wheel as you see here in front of you, and the wheel is divided into a number of segments, as you see, by the number of competencies. So the example here has 8 competencies. So we try to evaluate every competency according to observation and self-observation by the coachee. And you get a shape like you see here in front of you. So if you look at that shape, they are immediately from the points that are closer to the middle, those are the ones that actually need attention, right? The other ones have high scores, so there are no problems. So for example, results orientation, communication, risk-taking are the areas that should be focused on from this. So that gives a pictorial overview of where are the gaps that a certain employee or a certain coachee has. So it could be like before starting a coaching session, having a discussion about this, and then that will allow both coach and coachee to choose the specific topics to hold the coaching session on. All right, I talked to you about questions and the importance of questions, so I wanted to share with you this quote by Najib Mahfoud. For the Arabic-speaking people, the probably name is very famous because he's an Egyptian author who won a Nobel Prize at one point in time, and he has this beautiful saying. He says, you can tell whether a man is clever by his answers. So a clever man, ask him a question, he'll give you a clever answer. But if you can tell whether a man is wise by the type of questions that he or she asks, well, I guess it's a man, so it's a he. So yes, wisdom actually in knowing how to ask questions. Yeah. And you're probably all aware of the 3 types of questions, the open-closed questions. The closed question, of course, is a question that ends with like 1 or 2 words, yes or no. What's your name, Ibrahim? So it ends with what they have their uses, but usually we encourage more the open type questions to get people to talk more. Then we have a 3rd type that you see there. It's called probing question. The probing question is the type of question when somebody is talking about topic, to go deeper and deeper and deeper about the topic, to get the various details related to that topic. And in that way, you get the full story. Usually coaches fail in the probing questions because it requires a bit of courage here, because you're going to ask about details that you might think are embarrassing or uncomfortable. But it's been my experience, and I'm sure the experience of many other coaches, is that the solutions, the real issues lie in the answers that you get to the probing questions. So what made you do that? Why did you choose that route? What are the considerations? How did that make you feel? What were you thinking about this? So when you go into these details, it's what gets you the full picture and hopefully creates the awareness for the coachee so that he or she can choose the right path for them. I think we're getting close to the end, so bear with me a few more minutes before I open the I guess the session for questions. So the last thing that I want to share with you is that you, at the end of any session, every session, you need to have a wrap up, right? This is where you round off the session, confirm the actions that you have agreed with the person, set and confirm a date for the next session, because usually things don't finish in one coaching session. So the person may come up with methods to deal with a certain issue, but then he or she has to come back again and revisit those methodologies. Always make sure at the end of the session you do a reminder of the action plans, how were they going to be implemented, if they require any support or help from you, and of course, as we said, agreeing on the next session, because it gives people sort of a deadline that I'm supposed to actually achieve this by the next session. So it gives them a motivation, if you will, to complete the actions that they agreed on. Follow-up actions, of course, in between sessions, if you need to actually support these people in maybe implementing the agreed actions, send them reminders, if you will, any refreshers. Get them, do follow up with them, like nice follow up in the middle, saying to the person, how well are you doing? I hope things are working out as you're hoping. So in a way, just keep in touch with them to make sure that they do complete the agreed actions from the coaching session. What I'd like to do now, if I want to take 5 more minutes, if you don't mind, I would like to share a video with you about a practical coaching session based on the coactive model. So if you just hang on with me, let me just look at that video. Here we go, and we're running the video now.
Now you're going to see a demonstration, a short demonstration, as if we were in the hallway. We're working together. There's a conversation maybe that's happened previously around this, and we're running into each other in the hallway. Lori is my employee, and he's got something to chat about.
All right. Hey, Signe, boy, I'm so glad I caught you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm on my way to a meeting. I've only got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can I have the 5 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
You know that project I'm working on?
Okay, yep.
We talked about it before. It's going well, but I'm really having trouble with Frank.
Okay. Okay. What's the trouble that you're experiencing?
Well, first of all, we seem to clash. Like it almost feels like any time I say something, he always seems to have to say something contrary, is what it feels like.
Okay, so contrary or one-upmanship, is it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just started to notice that, like when we're offline, we seem to get along, but when we're in the room together, it's like, I don't know, but like he's different, and I'm just noticing, and I'm starting to.
So what does that bring up for you?
Well, it's bringing up for me, wow, I wonder if I've done anything wrong. Okay. Have I somehow pissed him off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I guess that's.
So it sounds like confusion. It sounds like there's a place of confusion.
Definitely confusion, and I'm starting. I'm starting to be reluctant to speak up.
Oh, in the meetings.
Yeah.
So you're starting to hold back.
Yeah.
And kind of, that's a big impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know who you are. You're someone that speaks up and has an opinion, and I want you to know that those opinions, they're really valued around here. So it's really important that you actually find that way to have your voice in this situation.
Yeah, but I don't, yeah, I get, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you need in order to feel like you can really be yourself in those meetings?
You know, it's so obvious, but I guess I'm noticing I'm even reluctant to speak it, but I need to talk to Frank.
Yeah. What is it you need to say to him?
The censored or the uncensored version?
Give it to me straight.
Like, what's up? Why do you keep shutting me down? That's what it feels like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you think he's going to respond to that? Actually, here, let me tell you. I mean, so maybe you're giving me the uncensored version.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something I'm picking up about, like, well, to possibly give it to him in a way that he's going to be more receptive to it. Because...
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Because I'm almost feeling like I'm attacking him.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, it's what you want to do. Yeah, great noticing. And what's the thing that you can say to him that's going to enroll him into having that conversation with you?
Well, I guess the first thing would be to just say, hey, Frank, can we talk about, just maybe grab lunch or something.
Great. Yeah, can we have a conversation?
Yeah, because actually what's coming up as we're talking is, as I said to you, we actually do get along outside of the room.
Great. So great idea to have it as a conversation outside the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great insight.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so have that conversation with him. What are the key points that you want to cover in it?
A little lost here because I keep wanting to say, so Frank, why do you keep shutting me down?
Okay.
So I want to go.
Right, and we know that's not going to be effective.
Yeah.
What's the thing you want to get out of it?
That every time I open my mouth, I don't feel like I'm being somehow attacked or judged.
Right, so you want to have a sense of options, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Doesn't feel like it didn't quite land.
But something is coming up for me. I could try this. I'm a little reluctant to, but I might say, maybe instead of like attacking him, say, hey, Frank, I'm noticing this is happening.
Yeah.
Have I done, I could, okay. I
see where this is going, this is great.
Yeah, I could say something like, so have I done anything wrong?
Right, so you can actually almost turn it around.
And open up the conversation that way.
Super.
Yeah.
And I heard you say a minute ago that you're feeling a little bit reluctant. Here's what I know about you. When you share what's really going on for you, it has a big impact. Like you're the kind of person who people stop and listen to. So, yeah, really, I'm really excited that you're choosing, consciously choosing to make this decision about how you're going to work with Frank and work this out. Yeah, good. Okay. So when are you going to have this conversation with him?
I'm gonna actually call him today and set it up for later in the week.
Okay. Will you drop me an email after you've had the conversation with him?
I will.
Okay. And if you don't, like if it's come to the end of the week and you haven't had the conversation, fire me an email.
I'll let you know.
Just to let me know that you didn't have it, but when you will have
it.
Great. I look forward to hearing what happens.
Thanks for the 5 minutes.
Okay, good.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed that video as an example of, or a live example, if you will, applying all the principles that we talked about in the past 30 minutes or so. What we're going to do now, because I've noticed somebody said no video, so if you didn't get it, I've asked my colleague to send you the link maybe in the chat there, so that you can see the video at a later time, because it's on YouTube. It's available on YouTube, so it's okay. All right, everybody. Well, that's what I have for you on coaching in this short period of time. Naturally, it's a topic that we can talk about for a long, long time. We have, a whole course, actually, a 5-day course to talk about coaching. But at least, I'm hoping that I give you a quick kind of view of how coaching should be and how it should be delivered, and what you should keep in mind when you are holding a coaching session with an employee or anybody in a friend or a family member. If you have any questions at this point in time, please type them. I'll try to answer to as many as I can in the remaining time. Okay, here we go. So there's the link in front of you. So for those of you who were not able to see the video, you can watch it later at your own leisure. Okay, I saw somebody was typing something and then stopped. Well, I'm hoping that's a sign that the the webinar was quite clear for everybody. So I'm going to give 1 more minute to give everybody the opportunity to ask their questions if they have any. Otherwise, if there's no questions, we'll wrap up. All right. Well, nothing is coming in. Nothing is coming in. All right. Well, thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope you found it beneficial. Oh, there's a question finally. What is the next step to continue learning more about this? Yeah, well, you've got one of 2 ways. You can obviously you can sign up for a coaching course. That's one option. Another option, of course, is there are a plethora of books out there about coaching that you can read from them. If you go on ICF as well, they provide a lot of online, or at least they refer you to a lot of online courses related to coaching. So these are 4 or 5 options for you to look at possibly when it comes to this important topic of coaching. Oh, you're saying no sound? Can you hear me? Okay, is everybody can hear me? All right. I'm going to repeat that one more time, Ms. Rasha. My response to your question, can you hear me now? Hi. Okay, so I guess some people are able to hear. Oh, okay, excellent. All right, so let me repeat that very quickly. I said, there are like 2 or 3 options that you can do. Number 1 is to register yourself in a coaching course, obviously, and get more hands-on sort of a training and build your skills in coaching. Step number 2, or an easier step would be is to kind of get yourself a book, and I recommend the Coactive Coaching book for you to read. A third option is to maybe get on some online courses as well. If you visit the International Coach Federation website, they will refer you to organizations that provide online coaching as well. Of course, you're welcome to come to our coaching session. We would love to have you. But these are like 2 or 3 methodologies that will probably help you out. It's called Coactive Coaching Model. Let me just type it for you here. There you go. You are very welcome. Thank you for being here. All right, any other questions? How to control high temp? I love it. Well, the immediate response, you're very welcome, Abdul Malik. The immediate response or the quick answer that I have for you is the people who are high-tempered, the number 1 thing is you need to kind of not allow them affect you. So emotionally within you, when somebody is speaking, in a high-tempered way, a lot of the times we feel intimidated by the way they are talking to us, by the language that they're using, or the tone that they're using, or the volume that they're using. So it's about looking at that person and just accepting him for the way he is speaking. and then asking, the people speak or use high tone or high pitch is when they are upset. So the first thing is to actually tell that person that you understand the way they feel. Usually when you acknowledge the feeling of a person who is expressing himself in such a passionate way or maybe high tempered way, it kind of calms them down, and start using the coaching method. Start asking questions. So what made you feel the way that you do? What led to this issue? What is it that we can do about it? And try to steer the discussion away from being an attack on you to become more of a discussion on the issue. So make the person feel that you and him or you and her are one team, against the issue, not against each other. Okay. Somebody's asking me about the books. I've already mentioned the name of a book, Coactive Coaching. This is the book I actually recommend. As for Jamal, I think asking how to listen letter, I think you can go to our website. This webinar is going to be available on our website, so you can go anytime. And I think it just the link went on there, and you can listen to it anytime that you want. Should it take long duration? Are you referring to the dealing with the high temp? Yeah, well, you need to spend some time. If that's related to the same point, the answer is yes. Yeah. I mean, you need to give the conversation at least 5 to 10 minutes to kind of absorb, if you will, the person's emotions. Could not enjoy it due to a problem. I'm very sorry about that, but please go back to our website and find the webinar and listen to it again. Hopefully you'll get the gist of it. You are very welcome. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate all the feedback, appreciate all the questions. There are some very good questions. Best of luck to all of you. Please keep visiting us for more of our webinars on many other topics. You are very welcome. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and happy coaching, I guess. You're very welcome. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Meirc.com